You gotta
Yeah.
be telling them. You see how I'm doing this shoulder move?
I
You
love it. I've seen that move before, girl.
gotta let them know.
That's her move.
Like, you gotta let them know you fine. Because they don't be knowing. And you gotta tell them you gotta talk like this. You gotta talk like this. You know. Girl, you know that move will get you.
That move has gotten us kicked out of bars before, okay?
Hey, I'm Loni Love, comedian, actress, and Emmy Award-winning talk show host.
And I'm Erica Montolfo, writer, showrunner, and most importantly, Lonnie's super fun sidekick.
And I love it. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Grown Ass Women Talking. We've got one fun one today. Our grown ass topic today, we'll be talking with Cari Champion about being overlooked in the workplace. But before we dive in, we want to give a shout out to all of our listeners who have been sending us emails and recordings. We love hearing from you. Now, if you want to share your thoughts on the show or tell us what's on your mind, send us a voice note at gawtpod@gmail.com or record a voice message on our website, gawtpod.com. Now, if you're listening to this on your phone, follow us right now. Well, not if you're driving, but follow us on Instagram. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe.
And finally, we have a special request for all our listeners. We're on a mission, guys, to reach 1,000 YouTube subscribers. So please help us out by subscribing to our channel and sharing our videos with your friends.
And now that we've done all of that, let's catch up with Erica. Erica, what's on your mind, sis?
Listen, today is a historic day. Guys, for the first time, Loni has invited me somewhere. She's invited me to an event. I get to be, not her plus one, but I get to be in the room with her.
We had a table of 10,
breaking news.
So that's the only reason why you
and
got
I made
invited.
it. I made it in the top 10. It means so much to me, you guys. You don't understand. Where's my award? I'm going to win the Loni picked me for her top 10 award. I'm very touched.
It's the Women's Image Network Awards. That's what it is. And it really is a, you know, I try to lend my platform to really cool things, and it seemed really cool. They are honoring Melissa Etheridge.
Oh.
And they have 15 awards that they're giving out for women in the industry. So, you know.
Well, don't downplay it. This is exciting. You're nominated for your acting, as an actress, for your role in, what's the movie?
Binge to Death, which you can see. It's a Halloween movie, so you can watch it. So it'll be great. So we'll tell you all about it in the following weeks.
I have another question.
Yes.
Will you be thanking me in your acceptance speech?
Anyway, what else is going on?
All right. Moving on. That's it. I'm just excited I get to be in your presence.
Well, I mean, there's some really exciting news. You love the Dodgers, and what happened with that?
Well, you guys, I'm an LA girl, born and raised, unicorn, LA native, and my Dodgers are going to the World Series. How amazing is that?
Oh, yes. They're playing the Yankees.
The Yankees, right? Yes, which is, I mean, you know, a rivalry for the ages. But can I tell you a sweet story? Like, again, I grew up here. My mom, Claire Huxtable, almost grew up here because her family moved here from Mississippi when she was like a kid. So my grandfather, who used to live in the Crenshaw district, my grandparents, we would go to their house, and my grandfather was the biggest Dodger fan, right? And they had a TV, but my grandfather would be in the kitchen and he listened to the Dodgers on the radio. And so that's my memory of my grandfather, was like going in the kitchen and he'd be just listening to Vin Scully, you know, his voice, the announcer of the Dodgers. And he'd just be listening to the play-by-play, and it's very sweet. And I, like, Grandpa, we have a TV, but that was his thing. He loved to listen and get away from my grandmother.
You know,
too.
my grandmother loved to listen to the baseball games.
Yeah, what is that? Is that like a thing, like for that age? Maybe
that's
that
how
was
they grew up.
Yeah,
that's how they grew up like that, where they didn't have television, and she would just sit out on the porch and she would have her little tobacco and listen to the
tobacco.
Ball game. Oh yeah, she used to do her little tobacco, a little snuff, and all of that.
I love it.
I see you got a haircut. How's
that?
Yes.
Did you
it
notice?
Looks good.
Yeah, I just got it done yesterday. Listen, my hair's been through the ringer with the turning green, so I'm just like, you know what? I was gonna go really short, but then I chickened out. So yeah, it's a new thing. And
I love it.
Since I'm going to be your date, I figured I'd, try to look really good.
Oh, you're getting fancy just for me.
Just
Thank
for you.
you.
You're worth it. You're worth it.
Also this week, I went back to my hometown of Detroit.
I saw
for
that.
the Get Out the Vote bus tour, because of course we're reminding people to get out the vote. It was the power of the ballot, and it was really nice to actually go out, talk to some people, and encourage them to vote. And people are really fired up. They really are.
I was gonna say, what's the vibe out there?
The vibe is that people are they're fired up. There are some who they don't know what to do.
Really?
And so, that was the purpose of us, really. It's not for us telling them who to vote for. We just want you to vote.
So you had to get them registered, or was it registering?
We were getting them registered.
Gotcha.
Early voting has started, and this actual bus is they're going to go down south. And I would have loved to stay, but I couldn't. But I was able to hit the Detroit stop, and we had a press conference, and it's just wonderful to be able to do that. So remember, early voting has started in a lot of places.
I sent my ballot in on Sunday. I put
Good
my
for
ballot
you.
in the mailbox. So, and I got my receipt on my email saying that they got it. So I feel good.
I saw your little Instagram with your little.
Oh yeah, that was my little. I voted.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
Being a responsible American.
Hell
Look
yeah,
at
you got it, man. Or else you can't complain. I like to complain, so
That's right.
I need to be able to complain.
Well said. And you know what? Also, what's well said is our episode today. We're going to be talking about grown-ass women getting big honors. We're also going to talk about why Ariana Grande is sorry. We're going to talk about the WNBA pay problem.
Oh,
and
boy.
Today's grown-ass topic, we're going to be joined by our friend, Cari Champion, as we talk about women being overlooked in the workplace. And she has a lot to say about it. We'll get into all of that and more after the break. This is Grown-Ass Women Talking. Are you a grown-ass woman with something to say? What are you unapologetic about? What's got you fired up?
Are you thrilled the kids are back in school? Or are you mad at your friends for asking you out after 9 p.m.? Did you get stood up on your third Tinder date this week? Whatever it is, let it all out.
Visit our website at gawtpod.com and leave us a voice message. That's gawtpod.com, or drop us a voice note at gawtpod@gmail.com. We might just play your message on our next episode.
So don't hold back. This is your space to talk about it.
We're back with more GAWT. Now it's time for Grown Ass News. Each week, I'll get Erica's take on the week's entertainment news, current events, and news about grown ass women. This week was about celebrating grown ass women, and I was happy to see it. Mary J. Blige and Dionne Warwick were inducted into the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, along with our girl Cher.
I was going to say, don't forget Cher.
Oh my goodness, it was so great. Did you get to see any of it?
I saw every minute of it. And can I tell you what I loved? I loved these women schooling the youngins, right? I mean, first it's, Dua Lipa comes out, then Cher comes out. It's like, hold my purse, Dua Lipa. Let me do this. Then same thing with, who was it singing with Dionne? Oh, Jennifer Hudson? Yeah. I love Jennifer Hudson, get me wrong. But then Mama Dionne came out. It was like, Jennifer, go sit down. Let me finish this for you. And don't get me started. Mary J didn't need anybody else to even sing her song. No one even tried. She just came out and just slayed. So I loved a grown ass rock and roll Hall of Fame moment. It was fantastic.
Well, like you said, Cher was inducted.
About time, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, she made the joke. She said, it's easier to get 2 divorces than to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Who's she telling?
Did you check out Zendaya and that wonderful dress?
Oh my gosh. Listen. Back in the day when I had that kind of body and I could rock a dress like that, I should have tried.
You can still rock that dress. You can still rock. You just have to hold in your stomach.
My stomach, there's no amount of Spanx that's gonna keep that in there. No, But good for her. She looked beautiful.
And Cher looks great for 78 years old.
Amazing. And she has, her boyfriend's like, what, 35? She has like a 35-year-old boyfriend. Listen, I'm not mad at
his son too. He bought his son to the
How old is his son? 5? Like, what?
He's a little one. He's young, but he bought him to the ceremony. I thought that was really cute. And
Go ahead, Cher.
Dionne Warwick, Tiana Taylor is reportedly doing a biopic of her, and so she came in this actual like green dress, was kind of reminiscent of her video back in the day of Walk On By. And Tiana is not playing. She's like, I am going to become Dionne.
She looks just like her. She really does. I mean, she really resembles her. That's a perfect
she
casting.
Really does. And she looks really good.
Beautiful.
Tiana did. But, I met Dionne when I did the real. Her and her son came on and did a Christmas song with us. And I was just so elated. She still has her voice.
Oh,
She's
yes,
still
she
doing
does.
her thing. And I'm just happy to see that finally, she got that.
She made a joke too, because she was like, listen, I mean, like, it's, again, calling them out for It's About Time. All these women should have been in years and years ago.
Definitely. And of course, our girl Mary J. Blige, she was inducted by Dr. Dre.
And Method Man.
Well, yeah.
Method Man Method Man looks good to me.
You notice how he has turned himself into a sex symbol? It's like,
who knew? I slept on Method Man. I'm like, what? When did Method Man get so hot?
I mean, it's like all of a sudden he's turning that way. So
yeah, he is.
She has been credited with making the genre of hip hop soul.
The queen of hip hop soul, right?
I mean, she is just so. I love Mary. I worked with her when we did the Essence Festival. She works so hard. She tours all the time. You know what she went through with that disastrous divorce. And so it's good to see her finally now getting her flowers. I mean, I just think that is wonderful. So
Mary is the epitome of survival, right? I mean, she has been through hell and back, and her music reflects it, which is why I know people joke about, like, we love Mary when she's sad because that's what she gives us the best music. But listen, but I want to see her happy. So I'm happy she's having a moment right now. You know what I mean? We can like have some mediocre music just to let Mary be happy for a minute.
Okay. Well, congratulations to our grown-ass women being inducted in the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I am so happy Missy Elliott and Queen Latifah were among the National Medal of Art recipients at the White House ceremony. And President Biden handed out these prestigious honors also to Spike Lee, Steven Spielberg as well. And also Selena received it. And this is the highest medal of honor. This is like an honor, the highest honor that the nation can give to performers. And Missy Elliott, who has been in the game for years, she put out a tweet. She said, "I am humbly grateful, crying tears of joy after the ceremony." And she says she was just thankful. And you saw her and Queen Latifah. They just deserve this because they have been upstanding women. They've been unproblematic. They just do the work. And it's just nice to see that they're getting their flowers while they still can walk.
Well, meanwhile, speaking of the Hall of Fame, Queen Latifah helped induct Tribe Called Quest. Shout out to Tribe. And she got up there and performed like she was a teenager. I mean, beats, flow, the whole nine, still got it. So
that's that CBS money, that equalizer.
Girl, listen.
That's
equalizer money. That's that equalizer.
Can I tell you, I love me some Queen. I always see her. She recognizes you. She sees you. She is very in tune with what's happening with the culture, and so is Missy. Missy is the same way, and it just shows that you can be in this industry and you can put out the product that you're supposed to put out and not trip so much,
Absolutely.
So
True grown-ass women who deserve all the
UNITY.
fun.
Okay.
Yes.
Another,
Ladies first.
This episode is all about celebrating women, I think.
I love
we had a
it.
little drama.
Let's
but
do
it's
it.
Another celebration that happened, and it was Miss Rita Moreno. She was honored at the 4th Annual Academy Museum Awards. And first of all, Rita Moreno, who is 92 years old, she already
crazy
has an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, a Tony.
EGOT.
She is just one of 21 people with the EGOT. And so she was presented with the honor. This was an ultra star-studded event that happened. And you know why? Because nobody has a job.
So everybody was available.
Everybody. I was like, you there? John Travolta?
Oh, he was there?
Coleman Domingo? John Legend?
Listen.
Everybody.
Do you know my funnest facts about Rita Moreno?
What?
Besides the fact that I love her, but I loved West Side Story. And another sidebar, I played her character on my high school version of West Side Story. But anyway, I digress. But
in the 1800s, they had
yes.
That was coming.
It was before it was Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet back then. But I love the fact she had a mad affair with Marlon Brando.
Really?
You didn't know? Oh my! Because I think I watched a documentary on her. But yeah, I mean, they were like a whole thing, and he would get really jealous when she would kiss other guys or whatever. When she was doing a role. And I mean, can you imagine he's just like really seething, like all that kind of 1960s hot sex they were probably having. Like it was probably just angst-ridden actor studio method kind of love, which is to me super hot.
Really? Marlon Brando, from what the rumors are, he fucked everybody.
But back then, he was hot. Like, she got hot Marlon Brando. You know what I'm saying? Like,
why.
She got Streetcar Named Desire Marlon Brando. She didn't get, like, Godfather Marlon Brando. She got hot young Marlon Brando. I'm here for that relationship, for sure.
I love it. Well, congratulations, Rita Moreno. I met her too.
You met everybody. Who haven't you met?
She was so sweet. She was the sweetest. You're in this industry as long as I have. It's just Up next, Ariana Grande has apologized to Elvira after the horror hostess shared an encounter where the pop singer was allegedly disrespectful towards her. It was during a Q&A at Not Scary Farm in Buena Park. She was asked what was her shadiest celebrity encounter, and she said it was Grande, recalling that Ariana had attended one of her events. She asked for 21 tickets to the event. They gave it to her. And Grande came backstage and asked if her friends and family could join her. Elvira claimed that she had taken a photo with all of the family except for Grande, who, when she said, well, can we take a picture? Elvira asked her, and she allegedly said no. She goes, no, I don't really do that. And that clip has gone viral. Elvira posted about it, and so Ariana put a comment under the comment, and she basically said, I'm so disheartened to see this. I actually don't even remember getting the chance to meet you because I had anxiety attack, and to my memory, I left before the rest of my family. I really am not great with being in public, and so I apologize.
You know how when people give a non-apology apology? To me, that that is the shadiest apology. First of all, well, I don't even remember meeting you. That's shade number one, right? Like, what? I met you? Oh, it must have been 7 years ago, and I have anxiety, which is BS, because, I mean, we see her in crowds all the time. Second of all, I think she said, like, well, I'm sorry if I offended you, which is not, I'm sorry I offended you. Sorry if you felt offended. Like, it's like putting it on the other person. Do you know what I mean?
You know what? A lot of her, and it's natural, a lot of Ariana's fans was like, well, this happened 6 or 7 years ago. Let me tell you something. And being a grown-ass woman, I can still remember when I was a baby, when people did stuff to me that hurt my feelings or made me feel some type of way. And, it's not about, she was actually answering a question. but you still remember it because it still
course.
hurts you.
Of
They always,
course.
so you can't sit back and blame her and say, well, that happened so long ago, get over it. It's a lot of stuff that you don't get over.
And you have to be accountable for your behavior. If this is true, again, allegedly, she brought 21 of her family members to meet this woman, and if the entitlement of it all, to be like, hey, hang out and take pictures with all my family, which she did, which Elvira evidently did, and then finally be like, okay, how now could we have a picture? And just saying like, no, I don't do a picture. I mean,
Yeah.
really? I mean, that's ultimate disrespect for
Yeah.
people's time, number one, and saying that you're better than someone else, right? Like, I'm gonna have you spend your whole day taking pictures with my family, but I can't do 5 seconds with you for a picture. No, that's not.
And
okay.
that don't sound like she's making that up. That sounds like that
Who
happened.
would make that up? Who would make that up?
It's like who?
No,
It's
exactly.
Like, okay.
And Miss Grande, you need to remember when you've misbehaved. So now you've been reminded, and don't do that again. That's a little slap on the wrist for you, young lady.
And I think that's why she apologized, because the apology, was needed. And, she also has this movie coming out, Wicked,
Yes.
that's coming out with her and Cynthia Erivo. And there is already controversy around that.
Did you hear about the thing with Cynthia's picture? How people have been altering the picture of the movie?
Well,
Did you hear about
they've
that
been doing
controversy?
fan edits.
Right, exactly.
And there's an edit that looked just like the Broadway version of Wicked, which in that Broadway version, the witch's eyes are covered with her hat and she has on red lips. And so what the fans did, they did in the movie poster with Cynthia and Ariana, Cynthia, you can see her eyes and she's staring like this.
Right.
And so Cynthia saw the edit that was based on the Broadway, and so she got upset.
Right.
And she feels like it was disrespectful. And to me, I'm like, that was just the Broadway
Yes,
version.
I agree. It has nothing to do with disrespecting Cynthia. It has to do with them. No, I don't think so. But again,
and I know Cynthia. I mean, I've interviewed her before, and I mean, I understand. I think sometimes, late at night when you scrolling and you looking at stuff, and it's funny because they asked Ariana about the situation on the red carpet. She was on the red carpet for something, and she basically did this word salad, and what I got from it was that it's no big deal. It's not that deep.
Did she say, I'm sorry you felt that way? That's another non-apology.
I'm sorry Cynthia felt that way, but if she feels this way, I'm sorry, that she felt that way.
Yeah, exactly.
That I didn't mean anything. It's like, Lord, can we just
But you can see my face, right? You can see my face. No. There are bigger things to worry about in the world, I think, right now.
The thing is, let's get to this movie, okay?
Right.
It's going to be a wonderful movie. It's
huge.
I mean, I love the Broadway version. Let's just everybody calm down. Let's just let the fans be the fans. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they meant any harm. They
did not. They hit a nerve. Somebody struck a nerve.
Oh, because I was almost, when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute. They didn't do that to her. And I said, wait, hold on. Let me go back to my playbill and look. And I was like,
yes,
wait
it's
a minute.
iconic.
Yeah, that's like they just and you could tell it was because they put the red lips on her. So they did the red lips. They wasn't trying to shade. So
no.
Anyway,
Cynthia, we love you. Calm down.
In other news, the New York Liberty won the 2024 WNBA championships by defeating the Minnesota Lynx 67-62. And they were the original franchise of the WNBA. So this marks their first ever win in 28 seasons. This was one of their most successful seasons because of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. And so now, because of that, Angel Reese said, the WNBA don't pay my bills at all. She jokes about the cost of rent compared to her rookie salary. So even despite her being one of the major factors, she was on this Instagram live. she said that her rent is $8,000, which is like $96,000 a year, and her WNBA salary is just $73,439. Yeah,
a year. That's crazy. I mean, that's nuts. That's ridiculous. That has to change. Seriously, I mean, these kids are making so much money for the WNBA. Like the seats are filled now, right? I mean,
well, now they're filled, but they weren't before.
Right? No, that's
Remember,
true.
before it would be like, hello, hello, hello.
It'd be like Rosie O'Donnell was there. She had the whole stadium. Rosie'd be like, "Hi guys, I'm the only one here." No, listen. I get it. I mean, it's all a dollars game, but I think that these women have like raised their profile so much, and they are filling stadiums now, so they should be able to get more money. I mean, they're not getting LeBron money, of course, but in time, and I think they're getting endorsements though. So maybe when Angel says the WNBA is not paying her salary, maybe Nike is paying part of her, rent.
But it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Like even some NBA players, you ride the bench, they don't get that much money,
Right.
but you get endorsements, and that's what helps her. A lot of
Right.
people are like, well, how do you afford $8,000? And it's like, well, because of the endorsements.
Right.
And these young players are the reason for the influx in the viewers, and so things are going to build up. And it's being reported that the WNBA union just turned away from collective bargaining because they're trying to actually up the pay, but
Right.
people have to come and support.
Absolutely.
And pay. They gotta pay. So
they need to take a page from the NFL. When did the NFL become like every night there's a football game on? Every station has a football game. Every network, every streaming. Like football has just become an entire. I mean, I know it's always part of our culture, but now it's like you can't turn for football. Like when did that happen?
The thing about football, it's like the number one sport in America. It's just, it is. And thank you, Siege, for telling me that, because I didn't.
Because we don't know. All I know is I can't turn the channel without a football game being on, and that's
I know
annoying.
they got it on every
every
I feel
channel.
so bad for like people like that love football, especially men and who are married, because they're basically like, oh, it's football season. Y'all won't see me until after the Super Bowl.
They're gone. That's why my husbands were foreign, because they don't watch football. They watch soccer. So they doesn't count.
I mean, sports betting and really just even
it's
live
a whole thing.
sports. Live sports is still was sustaining linear TV. Really.
Absolutely.
Because people, they have to watch it somewhere now, so.
But remember back in the day, it was like Monday Night Football, right? And maybe you'd have a game on Sunday. Now there's Thursday night. I mean, every night there's a football game. And it's like, really? How many teams are there? Now they're playing in Brazil. They're playing in different countries. Like, what's going on?
Well, that's why I'm glad we got Cari on, because she's
she can talk. She'll break
maybe
down.
she'll give us a little bit about why the NBA is not paying the ladies their worth,
Yes.
But somebody who is happy, somebody who's real happy about her dude is Drea Michelle. Now, if you don't know Drea Michelle, she's like a reality star. She's 39 years old. And her boyfriend is an NBA player. His name is Jalen Green, and he plays for the Houston Rockets. Well, Jalen, who was a rookie, and he's like 22.
She's 39 and he's 22?
Yes, girl.
Go ahead, Drea.
And she just had his baby.
Oh, yeah. You got to lock that down, bitch.
Well, Jalen just signed a 3-year, $106 million rookie contract extension on Monday. He had a stellar season. He played all 82 games. He averaged 19.6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, he's just phenomenal. And so she was just overjoyed. She even put up, in her story, she was like, yay.
I'm sure she did. Listen, well played. well played, Drea Michelle. Lock that shit down. But what is more startling to me, going back to the whole male versus female sports of it all, why is somebody who I've never heard of making $100 million? Like I've never heard of this kid. I mean, I'm sure I'm not. I'm a basketball fan, but I stick to the Lakers. But he should be somebody. He should be a household name if you're making $100 million a year.
Well,
right?
he is a household name if you watch basketball.
I do, but I don't watch. I mean, I'm not a big Rockets fan or whatever.
Well, that's the issue. But here again too, you got to understand this organization has been around for decades, and they've made money, and it's like he's filling stadiums, they're selling tickets, and everywhere they go. So it's just a bigger system, and the WNBA needs to work a little more on getting people in the seats. That's that's all it is. I just think that they need to adjust some things. Just in my opinion, they need to lower the baskets a little bit so we
get some dunking,
a little more dunking, a little bit. Like you have a few times that it can be done, but it's just the physical is different. That's it. It's not that it's worse. It's just different.
Right, but what I was interested in was these girls fighting. Like they got catty and they'd be like pulling each other's hair and stuff. That would be good. Yes, I
just
watch
that. Make it a reality show.
Yes,
reality
I
show
would watch
basketball.
that. Yeah,
I've had enough of that. Anyway, before we go, I want to say a huge congratulations because Erica's show that she writes on, Papa's House, has premiered on CBS, and I saw the first episode.
Did you?
It stars Damon Wayans and Damon Wayans Jr. and Essence Atkins. And it was a very positive and cute and funny show.
Aww.
So how did you feel about it?
I mean, listen, we're very proud of it. They are adorable together, father and son, great chemistry. I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you liked it. It's really fun. So I hope you guys will check it out. Monday nights at 8:30 on CBS.
Check it out on CBS, or if you want to see it, if you miss it, then you can. It's on YouTube. The pilot is on YouTube
or on Paramount Plus.
And I was happy to see Jeffrey.
Oh yes.
Jeffrey Owens.
Yes.
He had that whole fiasco with someone taking his picture because he was working at Trader Joe's.
Right.
And now he's, it was nice to see him. Tyler Perry ended up giving him a job after that picture went viral. And now, to see him, getting back roles and parts, it's just nice to see.
There's some really fun guest stars. Jeffrey being one. Our girl Wendy plays Damon's ex-wife, so she's going to be on some episodes. And Tommy Davidson comes on. Like, we have a lot of fun people coming on, so check it out.
I'm going to check it out, and you could always write. I can just walk in, a cup of coffee. Did I tell you about that time me and Damon were in New York, and it was something I was in, and we were both staying at the same hotel. He was sitting down in the bar, and we got so fucked up that night.
I didn't even know Damon drinks.
He was drinking that night. All I know is we sat there, laughed, and talked in New York. It was such a great time. So check out Papa's House with our girl and everybody, because we got to support these shows so she could keep paying for this. And with that said, everybody, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into today's topic with Cari Champion. This is Grown Ass Women Talking.
Hey everybody, it's Cari Champion, and this is Grown Ass Women Talking.
And we're back. Today's guest is a trailblazing broadcast journalist and television personality who has redefined sports media for women. She made her history on Vice TV with her show, Carrie and Jamil Stick to Sports, as the first Black woman to host a late-night cable news show. She hosted the Cari Champion show on Amazon and frequently appears as a contributor on CNN. Her podcast, Naked Sports with Cari Champion, delivers candid conversations reflecting her signature unfiltered style. And through her foundation, Brown Girls Dream, she champions mentorship and advocacy for women of color pursuing careers in sports broadcasting. Please welcome our girl, who I am so honored to have on our show, Cari Champion.
Cari!
I feel really important.
You are.
Thank you. I have to talk in this register because you are so kind. Loni, I am a huge fan. Thank you for having me. Erica, you are my girl. You hold me down.
Same, my girl.
So wonderful to be here with you, ladies. I'm excited.
I am. You know what?
Yay!
What have you been working on? Because you work on so much, but what are you currently working on?
I have, it's funny, like probably you all have, I have 18 jobs. So this is like a typical day and I'll explain it. Yesterday I was doing my pod, which is Naked Sports, which you talked about, and it's every Monday. And this particular season, I had the great idea to focus, my first few episodes, my first 10 episodes on the WNBA and what's been happening because it's been transformative.
Yes.
And I did a docu-series called The Making of a Rivalry with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And I focused my first 6 or 7 episodes on them. And I have been really busy with that because for the very first time in a long time, I am dusting off my writing hands and I'm writing. So it is documenting the WNBA when it started in 1998 to where we are right now and how it is really something that everybody wants to be a part of. And I feel like it's great, but I also, if I'm honest with you, I think you ladies can relate to being the first in many areas of what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
And for the ladies who were the first, there is no jealousy, but there is a bit of bittersweetness in the sense that we've been building this league for years. And all of a sudden, you mean to tell me we could have had chartered flights all of this time, or we could have had the attention and the marketing and the money all of this time? Why must it be when someone comes along who is America's darling that you all are paying attention? And this is nothing, we're not taking anything away from Caitlin Clark. I think
Of
that
course.
she is a superstar in her own right. But these are legitimate questions that a league that is 70% Black has to ask. And so I have been documenting that. And then the very last episode we had was with Gina Prince Bythewood. And it was beautiful
I love
because to
Gina.
me, love and basketball was the
Of
very
course,
first time I've
yes.
seen a Black woman centered, a Black female athlete centered in a film and celebrated. And it was just beautiful. So I did that during the day. And then at night, I went on CNN to talk about politics and things of that nature. So those are the two things that have me.
This is why we love you.
Well, can I just give a shout out to my girl because people think she's gorgeous, but she's also one of the smartest people I know, and also a fellow Bruin. So UCLA, shout out to my girl. Listen, she's doing it, and I'm so proud of you as always, sis.
Well, that's why we asked you to come on because we got to get into this conversation. We're talking about women being overlooked in the workplace. All three of us here deal in occupations where women are the minority. So this is going to be very interesting. From Vice President Kamala Harris busting her butt just to prove her competence to Hollywood downplaying hit movies led by women while giving excuses for flop after flop from the fellas, these double standards are real and exhausting. So this week, we're getting into how women can support each other and stand tall in their greatness, despite the emotional toll, systemic biases, and the struggle to keep hope alive when burnout hits hard. So let's talk about being overlooked in the workplace. Cari, you have navigated so much. What is your take on today's topic?
I think we see it every day. Unfortunately, I think when we have these kinds of honest, real conversations, there's a section of society that will tune out automatically because they feel as if it is complaining or whining or it doesn't affect them. And a friend of mine told me something the other day, and I really appreciated him. He said it's a luxury to not have to think about gender or race unless it's convenient or when asked. And we don't have that luxury. And I feel like it happens way too often. It is normalized and it is unfortunate. But there are the people like yourselves, like the Lonis and the Ericas of the world that live in these spaces and really do the work that needs to be done. And it doesn't all have to look the same. That's one thing I do have to say. Like, you don't have to have a podcast calling people out or saying what you want. It's just being who you are. That is an act of resistance. And oftentimes, when I have been overlooked in my workspace, just as a woman covering sports, it's frustrating, it's difficult, it's exhausting. It takes its toll on you, and you have to be able to handle it. You just learn. You have to handle it in ways that allow you to find your peace and not kill you. You know what I mean? I have talked to so many women. I talked about the WNBA, and I use that as an example because it goes across all disciplines. And the reason why I wanted to interview Gina writer and director of Love and Basketball, Gina told me that she started writing that film before the WNBA was created. I said, well, how would you do it differently today? She says, well, first of all, it wouldn't be able to be made as a film today. It would be on Netflix, if you will.
For sure.
A lifetime.
If
A
that,
lifetime,
yeah.
right, if that. She was like, so just so we're clear. And then she said, I look at the first time that I've ever gotten international coverage or top tier treatment. It's when she did The Old Guard. And she had one black lead, and it was Charlize Theron, who was the main. And she had been told for so long that her films don't travel. And every time someone sat down to talk to her during foreign press, they asked her about Love and Basketball. That was the first question.
Wow. That's amazing.
It reminds me, and it's also a reminder, not even reminding me, it's a reminder for all of us that no matter how frustrated we get in being overlooked, the people who matter know and will acknowledge our greatness, and we all have our turn. We just do. It just comes at a glacial pace.
How do you handle it? Because you know it's happening. You know that it's happening. And if you say something, if you're black, you're the angry black woman.
And even if you don't say anything, that's the key, Loni. Even if you don't say anything, friend, we're always TOO, even if we don't say anything.
Absolutely.
No matter, which is why I have made resolve at this age to just be. You know what I mean? BE. Because if I do too little, it's still too much. If I do too much, it's too much. I come too far to do too little, so I'm going to do too much. And the reality is the way we handle it is continuing to be excellent, because that's the only way we can stay in these rooms and be in this world and make this money and be able to rub elbows with them, because they cannot deny our excellence, although they do not celebrate it. They cannot deny it.
Well, going back to your point, Cari, 'cause I think it's such a good one. I think it applies specifically to us as women of a certain age who pioneered in a way, because we were the first, and being the first kind of gave us a little bit of a hard shell, because we had to, again, be the only woman in the room, the only black woman in the room. Now, thank God, women coming behind us, we paved a way for women in their 20s and 30s to kind of be amongst each other and have allies, but we didn't have that. And so that's what's gotten us to where we are, because we've got thick skins. Like, bring it on. What else? I've been in comedy rooms since I was in my 20s, where I will pitch a joke and, guys don't hear it. And then a guy will pitch the same joke, 5 minutes later, and it'll get in the script. And I always joke about, I think, like, we as women, men have learned how to tune out our voices, because it's like we're like Charlie Brown's teacher. It's like, wah, 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 wah. I mean, our husbands do it, our bosses do it. But I think for me, to your point, at this point, in my 40s, I own that space. I claim that space, where I was like, oh, can I be in this room? Thanks, guys, for letting me in. Now it's like, no, this is my space. I belong here, and you're going to listen to me.
I love that. But also, the reason why I was asking you, Cari, about, how do you handle it, as I'm still dealing with it to this day. Let me tell you something. I've been dealing in this industry for 20 years.
Well, comedy's got to be the hardest. I mean, being a stand-up.
Well, not only that, it's just the art and the act of comedy. Do you know how far we've come as plus size women? Like, a plus size woman, back in the day, we were always the sixth person on the call sheet, because we were funny, and also we were the minority. And then finally, today, I feel like people should be thanking me. Michelle Boutier, I'm going to call out. You need to thank me.
Michelle, flowers. We need flowers.
Yeah, it's the norm.
Yes.
It takes somebody to do that. And I think, Cari, that's what you have been doing when it comes to sports broadcast. I mean, first of all, what made you want to even get into this type of field?
First of all, Loni, thank you. I think about all the women I see now on TV that are coming after me, and everyone's like, they're so pleasant, they're so nice. I was like, yeah, because I had to kick everybody's ass. That's why they're so pleasant and they're so nice. And it's this real thing where they just don't understand, and there's no way we can make them understand until it's their turn.
Right.
So that's the first thing where I separate my frustration. I don't expect someone behind me to understand what it took for them to be where they are. I don't even think they have the appreciation. They can't. It's impossible. I don't even know if I had the appreciation for the. No, I love me some Oprah. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I had the appreciation for the local news anchors that I watched. Or the Sean Robinson. Sean Robinson. I used to roll up on Sean
Oh
Robinson all the time. Every
yeah.
time I saw her somewhere, I'd be like, "Girl, you are it, and I am gonna be it." And she was always just so gracious. Probably thought I was a stalker. But I don't think I even appreciated what she had to go through until I met someone who worked with her, and they were a young buck, and they were like, "You don't know how they used to treat her." Like, there's always
Wow.
time will always tell your story, Lonnie. Time will
Wow.
always tell your story, Erica.
Yes.
It's easy to say it right now because, I'm all zen and I had therapy the other day, but catch me Friday. I ain't gonna be feeling like this. But time will always tell our story. Like, it
Yes.
just will. It's just the only way that it works. And I started in sports. I was a local news anchor or a local news reporter, let's be clear. But sports was always my background because my now 94-year-old grandmother
Oh,
played
bless her
segregated
heart.
basketball
Oh.
in the South. And when she moved to California in the Great Migration, she became a Lakers fan when they came to Los Angeles. And she would love to watch the Lakers games, right? And she didn't have anybody to go with. And so she would take me because I was so young. And I
Oh.
was like, sure, I'll go with you. I used to take the bus with my grandmother to Lakers games. I tell this story all
Oh.
the time, and you never know how your life affects you. And so because I loved her so much and wanted to be her, I was automatically a Laker fan. And I fell in love with sports. She would explain the game to me. We'd sit in these really cheap nosebleed seats. And all I ever wanted to do was be a Lakers reporter after I was a local news reporter. I was going to be a Laker reporter. That was it.
Mm.
That was my little tiny dream. God was like, "Oh, you cute," and and that's how I fell in love with sports. And then I ended up in a backwards way, starting at the Tennis Channel, and then I was working when you at the U.S. Open, and I saw ESPN covering the sport better than we were covering it. And I was like, I should go work for them. That's what I literally said in my mind. This is the beauty of not knowing anything. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to fly myself out there and I'm just going to see what happens. And I flew myself out there and sat in the lobby till somebody talked to me.
What?
Yes, I did, girl. They didn't come for me. I found them because they don't be knowing. And so I met someone who took interest in me and I sent him my resume reel for like the next 2 years. And one day he called me and said, we have an opening on a show called First Take with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Would you like to come and audition? And I said, you bet. You betcha. You betcha. And I just went in knowing and believing. See, that is the thing of the original part of what I said. You both, and I know Erica intimately, Lonnie, I know of you, but you both are excellence, and time often will tell our story. Even when we have lulls in our career, right? We feel like we're still not being appreciated sometimes. Ultimately, at the end of the day, because of the excellence that we are, it's just a habit, it's just how we live and who we are. Time will tell our story, and we will get our just due.
Speaking of which, can I share the story of how we met and how we came together and how we became girls?
Yes, you can share this.
Love it.
So I picked her up in a bar one night. No, we were brought together by another mutual friend who's also, a major player in the world as a woman. Our girlfriend Lisa Ellis, who came from the music business. So I would love to have her to talk about what's going on in that crazy world. But so Cari has a very famous story about a scandal that happened to her in her career, and we were going to do a show about it. We were pitching a show that took off from this specific incident, which was a complete game changer in her life. Do you go ahead and explain the situation? It's better coming from you.
Oh, so many scandals. If you guys are listening, so many scandals.
Well,
Um,
yes.
this main one was when I was on First Take, Floyd Mayweather, when I was hosting and I was just a moderator, Floyd Mayweather, Stephen A. and Skip talked about how much they admired this man and how great he is. And as a woman, and by the way, you would think I'm talking about 1919. I'm literally talking like 2014,
Mm-hmm.
2013.
Mm.
And Floyd Mayweather said that two things. He had been arrested a few times for allegedly beating his partner, domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also had made a comment about a guy by the name of Ray Rice who was caught on camera. I don't know if you remember. He was caught by an
Mm-hmm.
elevator camera for hitting his wife, his then fiance, close fist, and she was literally knocked out, and he
Knocked out,
carried
yeah.
her out of the elevator. And Floyd was like, "That's not a big deal. You shouldn't take that man's career for him. I can't believe you suspended him for 7 games, whatever, whatever." And so, because I was a moderator, I was not allowed, honestly, not allowed to share my opinion. And that was the rule for the moderator then, because that was the first female moderator, at least full time in that kind of debate era show. That was the beginning of those debate era shows. And then I left and went to Sports Center. I hosted my own show, which was one of the most popular shows, amen, with a guy by the name of David Lloyd, who I love so much. Floyd was doing what we call a car wash, and he came on my show. And I asked him, I said, Floyd, I have a hard time. My question was really honest. I said, I have a hard time with a few things, and I think your female fans want to reconcile the man that is in the ring and out of the ring. You have been arrested for A, B, C, and D. Can you please talk about that? And this man looked at me like, you about to get it. And so that's a polite way of saying it. Like, how
Wow.
dare you ask me that question? How dare you? And I said, well, Floyd, here's the documentation. You've been arrested for hitting the mother of your child. Your child testified in court. This is not something I'm making up, and I'm asking you. He's like, well, you don't know. I don't know what's going on with you and your boyfriend and what happens in your house. And I was just like, he got very, very defensive. And at the time, his then publicist walked in front of the camera and kind of was looking at me like, stop it. You know what I mean? This is all on live television. And my lovely co-anchor, David Lloyd, God, I love that man. He leaned in, like physically leaned in, because he could see Floyd was getting agitated. And he leaned in and he was like, Floyd, I understand what you're saying about what happens at home, but you are a public figure and it has been documented. So we're asking you, every athlete we know isn't being arrested for beating his wife or hitting his girlfriend or whatever the case may be. Like, he kind of began to join the conversation with me because he could see it was getting uncomfortable. So the interview's over, and I am waiting for the pushback, and you could just feel it. It was just awkward. I had pissed people off, the black men mainly, and you can YouTube it today. It was over 5,000 comments about what a sellout I was and how dare I, and I'm trying to take down the black man. And I'm like, well, what about the black woman?
Thank you.
And I remember meeting Erica and a few other women, Lisa and another partner of ours at the time, and they were like, we should start it from there, because it was right around the time where we're just like, women are not, as we well know, in this industry, we endure so much, and our voices don't matter, and all we want to be is seen and heard. And that was one of these incidents where I also knew that I could make a difference, but I knew I didn't matter, because no one at all said anything to me like, good job, I'm glad you did that, that's so good. No man anyway. And every woman was like, thank you, but quietly, like, thank you. But all the men were like, how dare you try to take down another brother? You must be working for the man. And I'm like, okay, yeah. No, not working for the man, but what about the women who have been beat?
And what about being a journalist? Like, you are a journalist, and for someone to tell you not to do your job because you have this, quote unquote, powerful black man there. That's what you went to school for. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to being in the workplace and having to bow down to the patriarchy, in our perspective.
In our business.
Yeah, because obviously sports is the highest patriarchy that we've had next to politics, and to be silenced and to be told you can't ask a question is completely counterintuitive to what you do.
Well, that's because she's one of the first.
It's still happening though, Lonnie. It's still happening. You know what I mean? It's still happening.
Yeah.
Most recently, I don't know if you all know Monica McNutt. She told Stephen A. that he could be covering the WNBA sooner than later. He had the power. And the way she said it wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to try you, but it came across like challenging him. And I know behind the scenes, like for days afterwards, I know that she was in a personal hell because of what she had to deal with.
Well, that's what I mean. How do you handle? Because I've been, in that situation, being on a daytime talk show for 10 years where I've had to stand up and say, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about because this is the right thing to do. Or I'm going to, no, I don't need this guest on, or I'm not going to come on because.
I think you think of the repercussions. Like, I think sometimes in the moment, it just happens. Like, I know you've had some of the moments on live television where you're like, it just happened. And I just said what I said and I have to deal with it afterwards. Or it was instinct to protect whomever you protected, whether it be yourself or someone else, or stand up for what you want to stand up for. But in terms of handling it, all we can do and all I have learned to do is is really speak truth to power. And everybody doesn't have that.
Absolutely.
Everybody doesn't have that. And I don't require that of everyone. And it comes at a cost. It comes at not getting that next gig. It comes at people not wanting to sit with you or interview you. Or it comes at, oh, she might be a troublemaker. And then you hear things like, oh, you're not bad. People think you're a diva, but you're not bad. And you're just like, thanks. Like, you know, when I hear that, I just go, thank you. I don't know how to be anything else. I wish I was.
But if you were a man, you wouldn't have that pushback.
Of
If
course
Stephen
not.
A asked that question, it would have been,
Of
I mean,
course
controversial,
not.
but he would have been lauded for being a good journalist, right?
He would have been lauded for being a good journalist. He would have gotten some pushback in a different way. Like whenever you challenge someone who is a favorite, that's what I noticed. What the thing is that people who have sight, people who can see who other people are very special people. You all know what's not right, and very few people have the ability to call it out and say it. It is a chosen call-in profession that has sometimes very little glory and reward. And it's not as if I choose to do that. Like sometimes I wish I could be like, oh, that ain't my headache. I don't feel like dealing with this today.
Right.
But in the world of I think about what you do as a comedian, and I think I can't even imagine. And I'm not judging every comedian that I've ever met, but I could not imagine, Loni.
The thing that I do want to ask is, even while you were going through this, you're in a very zen place, but did you have any allies in women or men that helped you get through when you were going through these situations?
Absolutely. Loni, when you say how'd you handle it, you need a community. Some of us try to go it alone, especially Black women. We think we're going to be a one-man band. It is impossible. It is impossible to succeed in any profession without people that you can feel safe with and share real stories. For me, it came in the form of different people that advocated for me that I didn't even know were advocating for me at times. But I have two really good incidents where I can tell you. Jamel Hill, she had a show, and when I couldn't speak on First Take, she would invite me on the show with her and Mike Hill. And they would ask me to talk about whatever the topics of the day were. And I remember there became a quick narrative of, well, how come Cari isn't allowed to talk? Like, she's seemingly smart when she's on His and Hers. So what is the problem? And I loved her so much for that. Like when people would attack me when Twitter was a big thing and people paid attention, people would attack me and try to pit me against her. And she would be like, she's my friend. Yes, I was up for the job for First Take, but the right person has it. We are friends. You cannot make me not like her. You better get to the back of the bus with this. We are together. This is a sisterhood. And she did it in closed doors. She did it loud and proud. And I always think to myself, she's been such an advocate for women when she saw the bullshit. I don't know if we can curse. When she saw it, she was just always an advocate for me. And even you know, the day that I wanted to quit, she will tell the story to this day. I picked her up and I was like, so today's my last day. I quit. And she's like, well, everybody calm down. And I was like, I've had enough. I've had enough. I've had enough because we get tired. And I had enough. I got tired of being picked on. I got tired for being wrong all the time. I got tired for not being allowed to talk. I got tired for talking. All the things. I was just tired. And she put me back in a space to let me know where I was at the time and how this too shall pass. And it did. But it still is frustrating. I don't care how far we've come. There is still much more work to be done. I can say that across every industry, across every profession. You talk about different writers and Ericas that you see that are moving and moving in spaces that you want to move in. They can tell you about their headaches. No matter how far we have come, there is so much more work for us to do, which is why we, as the first for now, right? Because everybody was a first before us, and there will be more firsts. But the first for now have to stay true to what we are doing.
No, but to that point, though, I will say, you know, you mentioned Gina. Like when I was coming up, I know early on when I was a young writer, there was that kind of crab in a barrel mentality where there can only be like one Black woman, you know, in comedy, or one Black woman per show. But I will say I've had wonderful female mentors like the late Unetta Boone or like Mara Brock Akil, who absolutely shepherded my career and gave me opportunities because we kind of come up through a generation where, like, you know, there is room for all of us. And that's what I try to pay forward. So I really do try to mentor young female writers, especially African-American writers. I'm working on shows to be showrunners for these young women coming up and give them a voice and help them get their voices out there. So I do think we're making progress. I do know that there's a lot, a long way to go. but we're getting in the room, and once we're in the room, we may be the only person in the room, but it's almost our responsibility as the person in that room to open the door for the next person to come in. That's the way I feel.
And lastly, I mean, because I've enjoyed this conversation and we talked about women champion women, but do you have any advice for men champion women?
I do. I don't think men do it enough. I'm not even calling out black or white men. I just feel like men don't do it enough.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I think they have the first thing, just their instinct is to avoid trouble. It's like being in any relationship. When you're in a relationship,
yeah,
man, they don't want
yeah.
to fight. They don't want to, they're like, I want that. Y'all take care. I can't. Back to earlier when you said we're just being tuned out.
Right.
They tune out what they perceive as drama, headache, trouble, thought, anything that requires them to move out of their safe, easy space. But my advice would be, I always tell my mentees to find an ally, and then not even just an ally that is a woman, but an ally that is a man, and someone preferably that doesn't look like you. Someone who is in those rooms where they really take that voice very seriously. It's important to have black women lead you in spaces and teach you how to keep your composure and teach you the etiquette of the business and teach you how to maneuver in these rooms where they play in chess and you play in checkers. It's important for that because those games are specifically for us. Like those games they play with us are specifically for us. So your white male counterpart or your white ally may not understand that when you bring that to him. He won't understand that game because that game is only played for us. But we do need him to speak about how great we are, how smart we are, or how light we are. Like that's crazy to me that I'm even saying that out loud. It's crazy to me in 2024 somebody needs to advocate for how easy we are because there is such a perception of us not being easy. It is insane to me that I have to do that.
Well, it's so interesting you say that because I have a really great white male mentor who's a big showrunner who's always advocating for me. But there is also that ego-driven male showrunner writer who's very intimidated by women like us. And so
for sure.
Going to the chess game of it all or the checkers, they're playing checkers. And when we come in playing chess, it exposes their checker game and we become a threat to them. And it's very interesting to me that that's always the person that I'm like, oh, that person's going to be worried about me exposing their non-talent. And that's like, I'm not exposing it. You're exposing it. I'm just here showing people that this is what
talent looks like. Oh, you're talking about the debate. You're talking about Kamala and Donald Trump. That is an illustration of we need to be 10 times better and smarter and prepared while they can show up inadequate and mediocre at best.
100%. That's exactly
the concept of a plan. Yes, I understand.
We are the spotlight for like inadequacy. This is what excellence looks like. Don't be over here trying to play checkers when chess is over here. That's exactly right.
Well, both of you are excellent.
No, so are you, Loni Love.
And it was an excellent conversation. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you, Loni.
Cari, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure having you, sis. And for all our listeners, please be sure to check out Naked Sports with Cari Champion wherever you get your podcasts. When we come back, we're going to get into the takeaway with me, Loni. This is Grown Ass Women Talking.
Now it's time for Loni's takeaway. Loni,
yes.
What did we learn today?
How much did we love Cari? Wasn't she awesome? No, seriously though. All joking aside, this is the type of woman that, I look up to. I mean, the things that she has gone through and to be so transparent and to know that even though if you're a woman who feel like you're overlooked, this is what you do if you feel like you're overlooked. Find other women that have dealt with it. And she's dealing with it in her way, by having allies around her that support her, by standing true to who she is, by finding some type of mechanism, whether it's religious or meditation. She's finding that type of way. For me, I'm trying to drink less.
Not me. I'm trying to drink more.
Sometimes you gotta have a little piece of wine or something like that. But no, I'm not going to do that. But seriously, we're going to be dealing and seeing, depending on what happens in this election, with a lot of this type of issue of a woman being overlooked. and we're going to have to deal with it as a nation, and people are going to learn a lot. So I'm just happy that we were able to have her on to give her firsthand accounts, and you can see that you can get through this. You can get through it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping we don't have to get through this woman being overlooked in this election. I'm hoping that we will be celebrating all of us together with a woman finally being heard and given her due. But I have to point out the elephant in the room.
What is
that? Listen, I have very good taste in friends, and obviously Cari is a very good friend of mine, so I keep good company. And so, Loni, are you going to admit that we're friends now too?
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Grown Ass Women Talking. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Come on, let's be in the club together. You're going to be in the club with me.
Leave us a 5-star rating. And don't forget to follow us. Please follow us on Instagram or subscribe to us on our YouTube at GAWT Pod. Come see me perform stand-up live in Phoenix on November the 10th, Miami Improv, December the 15th. Tickets are on sale now. Get those tickets. Thanks again to Cari Champion for joining us.
And my friend Loni, bye. Love to everyone. Grown Ass Women Talking is a collaboration between True Love Productions, Dunnigan Lane Productions, and HARQ Media Productions. Our executive producers are Loni Love, Erica Montolfo, and Siege Pokinghorn.
This episode was produced by Siege Pokinghorn and edited by Nicholas Crawford. Our music is by Cole Curtis. Special thanks to Elizabeth Munch